man was walking in the woods one day when he saw a bear out of the corner of his eye. He stopped, said a silent prayer. God, I know you can do all things. Will you please make this bear a fellow Christian? The bear caught up to the man, placed his paw on the man's shoulder, and said, Brother, will you pray with me? Dear God, for this meal that I am about to receive, make me truly thankful. This is The Christian Bear with Dr. Ben Hilskamp. Welcome to The Christian Bear. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Hilskamp. I'm so happy to have you join me in this conversation. Thank you for making the time. The Christian Bear is a space for reflection, faith sharing, public theology, and lively discussion. I don't claim to know it all, but hopefully in conversation we can get closer to the truth and co-create our truths. Are you enjoying The Christian Bear? Please give the podcast a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're using, and think about adding a short review. Also, share this episode and the whole podcast with your friends and other people in your network. Consider contributing to my Patreon, the link for which is in the episode information. All funds raised through Patreon go to supporting the costs associated with producing and hosting this podcast. Now lean in and enjoy this episode of The Christian Bear. Welcome to episode 55 of The Christian Bear. Today I welcome the Reverend Dan Clark to the podcast. Dan is the Ohio Director for Faith and Public Life, as well as the writer behind Social Justice Sermons on Instagram, and one half of the band Landlocked Sailor. He is a member of the United Church of Granville, and a father and husband living on a farm in Ohio. So Dan, again, thank you so much for being on The Christian Bear today. I'm very happy to have you here and get your perspective on some of our big questions. But before we get started, I would just like you to take a moment to introduce yourself, who you are, what pronouns you use, and anything else you'd like to add for our listeners.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Ben. My name is Dan Clark. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the Ohio Director for Faith and Public Life. I'm also a parent to 3 teenagers and a spouse, and live here in Central Ohio.
Awesome. Thank you. So to get us started, if you could have one song play every time you walk into your home, what would it be?
I have to go with this song that I want played at my funeral, and that's I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends. But not the Beatles version, though they are my favorite band. I love the Joe Cocker version. Growing up on Wonder Years, and then just like what he did with that song at Woodstock. So it's got to be I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends. I Get High With a Little Help from My Friends. It's a beautiful song.
Awesome. What is a relatively basic task that you find very difficult?
Oh, a basic task that I find very difficult. I think I've improved in this in the last few years, but I used to find it impossible to fold clean laundry. So it would be working out of a pile of clean clothes on the floor in the bedroom. But I think that was a problem in my 30s. Now that I'm in my 40s, I have started to fold the clean laundry finally. But that was something I struggled with for years.
Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Picky eaters. Picky eaters are a pet peeve, and I want to affirm and acknowledge folks with allergies and issues like that. But we've had friends of my kids over to the house before, and can't get them to eat anything but pancakes or mac and cheese, kind of a thing. And it's like I love trying new foods. I love all kinds of different cuisines. So picky eaters is a pet peeve.
Yeah, I'm definitely someone who loves to try new food, loves to be adventurous in the cuisines that I eat, and of course, my younger sister is someone who eats chicken, mac and cheese, and that's been pretty much it from about age 4 until age 31 or 32 now.
Yeah, yeah. There are some among us.
Is it more important to understand or to be understood?
I think I'll go with the Stephen Covey wisdom that it's more important to understand. I think also because I'm still trying to understand myself,
Hmm.
you know. So to place that burden on someone else who's not living in this head or this body, um, kind of is an unfair expectation. But what I can put effort into is really trying to listen deeply, um, and observe carefully the people I'm in relationship with.
Thank you. If you could get rid of one U.S. state, which state would it be and why?
uh, I enjoy visiting the beaches in Florida, but if Ron DeSantis was out of the picture, I think, um, and that's not a threat to his safety for the feds who might be listening. If he was not a political player in our current um, sociopolitical reality, I think that would be good. I saw just today that um, more and more voter restrictions are coming in Florida, and, and so I think maybe we could do without Florida.
So less focused on the state of Florida and more on its current governor and political climate.
Yes, that's right. There's people in Florida I love, but I think they're the leading edge of a lot of the attacks on human dignity, and I find that problematic.
Definitely, definitely. You and I were both just on a call where the comment was made that as goes Florida, so goes our Ohio and probably other states as well.
Right, right. Yeah, I think those behind the efforts to be dishonest in education, to harm LGBTQ kids, to restrict voting access, the folks behind those efforts are resourcing Florida's approach and Ohio's approach, and in other states, as you said.
Yeah. Okay, so bow ties, neckties, clergy collar, or no ties?
Um, I have to go with no tie because uh, I can hardly find the dress shirt that I could button all the way up, and when I do, I just get uncomfortable. Like the a tie gives me a gag reflex sometimes, so I much prefer an open collar. And for years, I would tell faith leaders we worked with to please wear their collars to public events, as a symbol of being a trusted messenger in the community, and I wouldn't do it myself. But I've tried to start practice what I preach there, but I much prefer an open collar.
Amen to that, and same here.
Yeah.
When was the last time that you were truly happy?
Uh, that's a great question because that's something I've been thinking on and working on the last year or two, really intently. I've read a book called The Quest by Randy Elrod. I highly recommend it to anybody in middle age seeking to enjoy life. I went on a Quest retreat. I'm now in a mentoring relationship with the author of that book. And through some intention I've said over the last couple of years, I really feel like last summer and fall was kind of a highlight of my adult life, honestly. And had a lot of fun, a lot of meaning. I will say that I saw that happiness start to slip a little bit when daylight savings time ended, because here in Ohio, we don't see the sun much after that happens, and I'm I'm here to admit that that makes it hard some days to get moving and stay positive. But I would say summer and fall of 2022 was a great stretch. I was very happy.
That's awesome to hear, though I totally understand the missing of that wonderful thing called the sun, and
Yeah.
definitely experience it myself.
And next, we're soon to be halfway from winter solstice to spring equinox. So I'm counting down the days till the sun returns.
Yes, indeed. Although I will just take the fact that it seems to be later. It's already getting or saying later a little later.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Every minute counts when you live in cloudy Ohio.
Should toilet paper hang over or under?
Um, I'm a bangs, not mullet kind of person when it comes to toilet paper. So toilet paper needs to hang over, not under. If I go into a bathroom where it's hanging under, I will sometimes just switch it, even if it's not my own home, because I think I just don't understand.
What was the most defining moment of your life to date?
The most defining moment of my life to date. Yeah, a couple of my answers are not for public ears. I there's a trifecta of defining moments that I will share, and you can do with as you please, Ben. Uh, so one of the first defining moments came about a decade ago when I had finally the courage to leave a professional and relational situation that had been unhealthy for me, and it was a scary move to make. But I got courage from reading Brene Brown's book Daring Greatly, and made some changes that brought more challenges and more hardship for quite a few years, but eventually put me on the path to living a more liberated and happier life. So that was about a decade ago. And then I'm very grateful for my marriage to Jeanette and who we are with each other and for each other. And we randomly met in June of 2016 at a training for psychotherapists that I got welcomed into. I was not a psychotherapist, am not a psychotherapist. So it's just the fact that our paths converge there is a mystery of the universe for me. And that changed the trajectory of my life for sure. And then I've really become interested in how to expand our consciousness and use the gifts that the earth gives us to do so. And was really influenced by the Netflix documentary Fantastic Fungi and by books by Michael Pollan, especially How to Change Your Mind. And I experienced a therapeutic experience with psilocybin early in 2022 that really helped to expand my view of the world. Something that came out of that was uh, I had this idea that the punchline of the cosmic joke is love, and I try to return to that idea on the days that bring more challenge. So those are three defining moments in my life.
Thank you so much for that. If a tree falls in the woods and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound?
No, it does not, because sound travels as waves and needs something to receive those waves.
Mm.
So nope.
Okay.
Lots of silent trees falling out there in the wilderness.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm not a scientist. There's my disclaimer. I'm not a scientist, but that's my take.
Hey, I think that's a very plausible scientific answer to that question. Just as the alternative scientific answer would be, well, yeah, it makes a sound, just no one's there to hear it. But
Yeah. I guess I would say it makes a sound wave. Right?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Ooh, before the pandemic, I would have said dog every day, all day. Um, Most of my life, I've had a pet dog and enjoyed that. And then um, during the pandemic, my wife got on the kick to rescue a couple kittens, and I fell in love with them. And a year later, my in-laws' barn cat had a litter, so then we added sisters to to our crew, and I really enjoy them. So I think maybe here at midlife, I'm switching from a dog person to a cat person.
I believe one of those cats almost ended up with me.
Yes, yeah,
I
and there
just
were
merely couldn't decide if I was a cat person or a dog person at that point.
yeah. Well, if another litter pops up in another barn out here where I live in farm country, I'll hit you up.
Fair enough. Soccer or American football?
Soccer, no doubt. We are a soccer family. I grew up playing it. Some years playing fall, winter, and spring. Um, Enjoyed playing rec soccer in my 20s and 30s, and two of my three kids are soccer players. So all the way on soccer. I do enjoy American football, but if I had to choose between one and the other, soccer.
I had not pegged you as a soccer person yourself, but I knew that at least two of the kids played soccer.
Yeah, yeah, we love it.
Awesome. Ohio State or Michigan?
Ohio State. Yeah, I my dad has had season tickets to Ohio State football games longer than Jesus and my mom have been in his life. Uh, if my memory is right, he also like kept his tickets during two cruises with the U.S. Navy during Vietnam, uh, because it'd be hard to get back in the line for tickets. So I grew up going to Ohio State games. Grew up um, believing that Woody Hayes preached the gospel about that team up north. So we're an Ohio State family.
Yeah, I would argue that that is the only question on this list that has a definite right or wrong answer.
There you go. That's right.
Can peace be achieved through military strength?
No, no. Just as you can't fuck for abstinence, you can't make war for peace. So I don't know if that means you have to put an explicit warning on your podcast or if you'll edit
For
that
this
out.
episode, yes, but you're not the first.
Good, good. Uh, no, I don't think that's possible. I think redemptive violence is a myth. I think peace makes peace and war makes war.
Yep. What's your favorite cocktail?
I don't drink a lot of cocktails, but I'd have to say an old fashioned. Uh, I often just skip the simple syrup and the uh, and the orange slice and the bitters, and just have whiskey or bourbon on the rocks, though, or whiskey or bourbon neat. So I don't know if a neat pour of some bourbon counts as a cocktail, but old fashioned. If it needed a recipe, it's an old fashioned.
Again, the Marine veteran I referenced earlier said beer for that question. So
Okay.
if beer
It ca-
counts, then a neat pour of rice, yeah, counts.
yeah.
Describe your relationship with nature.
It is growing and evolving. My wife Jeanette is most at home in nature when she needs grounded and centered and restored. It's about taking walks in nature, taking time in nature, moving away from technology. I enjoy reading a lot of books uh, about nature and growing in my love for being in it. So I feel like I maybe used to be more of an indoor cat and then becoming more of an outdoor cat. I mean, even today, as we're recording this, there's several inches of snow outside, and I've looked at my calendar to see when I can put on boots and just take a little walk outside and hear the snow crunch under my feet and listen to the silent forest next to the meadow that we live in.
Nice.
Yeah.
What is the most profound or defining book that you've read? Multiple answers are allowed.
Okay. Yeah. Because I have mentioned a couple books already that I'll put in this short list, and those are Daring Greatly by Brene Brown, How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan, and The Quest by Randy Elrod. I'd like to add two fiction titles. Uh, I love On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Being a lover of rock and roll music and the hippie movement, I trace it back to what the Beat Poets brought. So I'm a Jack Kerouac fan. And the only book that I've read and then immediately started over and read again is Life of Pi by Yann Martel.
Mm.
I just thought it was such a beautiful story. And for those who haven't read the book or seen the movie, I'm not going to say anymore, but I really enjoyed Life of Pi.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Who's your favorite drag queen?
Well, being a Columbus person, I have to get on board with Nina West. They've been doing a lot of great things in our community for a lot of years, and it's exciting to see their career just continue to grow and grow and grow. I wish I could remember their name, but there was also a drag queen at the Newark Pride a couple
Mm.
years ago that um, that I would love to see perform again. I can't remember their name though.
Okay. What is the most important punctuation mark in the English language?
The ellipsis,
Okay. Why?
because shit just keeps on going. It just keeps on going. I don't feel like the way life moves, there's many things that we can put a period on. I think Octavia Butler teaches us that change is God, God is change. So to be open to changing is, I think, an important part of resilience and happiness. So I am a fan of the ellipsis.
I feel like that's a very UCC response.
Oh, for sure. I think they use the comma in some of their branding, but
Yep.
they could have used the ellipsis, right?
Oh, totally. Is it more important to love or be loved?
I'm going to say it's more important to love, and I'll rely on the teachings of Jesus to support that. And that starts with loving oneself. I do really believe that that is the root of the happiness that we've talked about a little earlier, is learning to love oneself. And when that's possible, then I believe that energetically grows into into the world, into other relationships, and it becomes contagious. And the love that we hunger for from other people is possible then as we love ourselves.
Amen. Would you rather be in charge of 10 duck sized horses or one horse sized duck?
Well, here on the Wildflowers Therapeutic Farm where I live in Licking County, we have two horses, and we used to have two ducks, but because there was a fox in a grove near us, we no longer have the ducks. The ducks make a lot of mess. They are cute as can be. When they were little, we would keep them in the house, and to hear their little feet like pitter patter across the floor and their little quacking was adorable. And we even considered, like, what if ducks could be house pets? And I did a little bit of Googling on that, and they do not have a sphincter, which makes it impossible to litter box train or potty train a duck. So ducks are outdoor animals, and they still make quite a mess outdoor. So I cannot imagine what one horse-sized duck would do to a yard.
Okay.
I'm going with 10 duck-sized horses.
Sounds good. That is actually the most in-depth and logical response to that question I've ever heard. And I used to use that question in interviews with student staff members when I worked in higher ed.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I met and married a farmer's daughter. If you would have asked me that question 5 or 6 years ago, I don't know if I could have answered it. But I'm not quite a country boy yet, but I know a little bit. And I know enough to know that 10 duck-sized horses is better than one horse-sized duck.
Okay. And the last question for today. What is the meaning of life?
The punchline of the cosmic joke is love. Ellipsis.
This has been The Christian Bear with Dr. Ben Hillskamp.